10:04.
Got it.
Can I get a motion about, to approve the minutes of the February 25th meeting?
A motion, put it forward to approve the meeting.
Ralph?
I would second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
It's unanimous. Okay, starting with you, Ralph.
Okay, briefly. First of all, I want to note that we are currently in need of medical drivers at the Council on Aging. If anyone wants to put in an hour or two a week, taking folks to medical appointments would be helpful. We need friendly visitors who are folks who would either visit with or telephone to seniors who are by themselves and could use a friendly voice an hour or so a week. And also in the office itself, we can still use some folks that would help in the administration of the Council on Aging front office. That having been said, I want to talk about a couple of programs that we're doing. First of all, there's a very useful program which I had heard about earlier. That it's a 10-week course in learning to use computers. It's for seniors. I'm not sure what the date of starting is, but they have laptops available. We have laptops available for use in the training session and also to take home if they need, someone needs one to take home with them, do some homework. There's another course which is given by Julie, our outreach coordinator, on benefits that are available to seniors, helping with their heating costs, their fuel, their electrical costs, and so on. These are government things for the most part, grants and so on. There's an outline of that being given on March 31st at the COA, and again, I think in this time of inflation and whatever, it might be useful to some folks. We of course have the blood pressure and wellness clinic with the town nurse every Wednesday. Again, that's well patronized, and it should be. There's one more legal clinic, there are two more legal clinics coming up, March 23rd and April 27th. These are half-hour consultations with an attorney who's skilled in elder affairs and so on. We have a dental hygiene clinic coming up the 18th, which is what, 3 days from now. Again, available to anyone with Mass Health or Medicaid, and that's free. Two things that we're doing also, we're making runs to pharmacies to pick up medications for folks that they need a ride, or not a ride, but someone to pick up their medications for them. Again, we can't put out the copay if there is such a thing, but if there is not, then we're perfectly willing to go pick them up. Secondly, the groceries. People who are a little concerned about going to the grocery store, we have grocery pickups as well. Not very well used to date, but pretty good idea for folks that are pretty much shut in or uncomfortable going out. And then the once a month grocery pickup at the family pantry, which is very valuable. I've done that a couple of times. We actually take orders from the pantry. People they get a sheet, they fill it out as to what they want. A volunteer and a van driver go over and pick them up, and then some of us deliver them to their houses. So that's pretty useful. It happens once a month. That's great, great program. The tax aid program is still going on. People are having their taxes done over in Chatham through the Council on Aging here. I can tell you it's very efficient. I went over there recently to represent a lady that could not go out, and I went over and had her taxes done for her. And they're very efficient, very skilled. They really know their business, these tax aid folks. So again, that's quite valuable, and of course, coming down to the wire in another month or so. And again, the brochure, which we are sending out a lot of these, but again, they can be picked up here at the COA, and there's an awful lot of good information in here that people just aren't aware of. And I'm finding that with my groups that I play games with and so on, that people just don't know about this brochure, nor about the one that we put out in the center, which is another issue. So that's it. That's pretty much all from the Council on Aging.
Well, thanks for that.
Yep.
So, Always good to hear there's a lot going on.
Busy place.
Over to you.
Well, I really don't have much to report this time around because we haven't met, let me back up. We will be meeting on the 29th. So since our last meeting, we have not had any activities, as you know. The 29th, we have our monthly meeting, and then we're going to be doing a public hearing on new policies, developing new policies, reviewing our current policies relative to the Bank Street and Red River Beach and the vandalism and the other issues that I spoke to at the last meeting. So we're waiting to have that public hearing and get some direction as to what the community suggests we do in terms of opening and closing the beaches and trying to see if we can cope with and deal with the vandalism that's going on in our two beaches. That's about all I can give you, except that
Do you have a date for that?
the 29th, I believe it is, the Tuesday.
Is that the public hearing, or is that just your
Both.
meeting?
That's the meeting.
Oh,
and
it's the
public
meeting and
hearing.
your public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. Other than that, the Brooks Park is coming along, as you know, the lights are up, and I guess I mentioned that at the last meeting that we had, so that's moving all forward, and
Great.
we'll go from there.
Guess we'll move on to old business and the budget.
So actually, I know Van had asked for it, and someone else had mentioned they hadn't seen the budget, so I just included what we submitted, to the town, and you'll see, the directive was it needed to be level funded, so we are level funded. There is a narrative that begins, this is also on the website, so people can look at it. And, you know, every year I talk about that at least 75% of my budget is made up of the utilities for the entire building, which covers Council on Aging, Youth and Rec, Veteran Affairs, Cemetery, Channel 18, and then there's an additional 17% of the budget, which is for things like trash removal, pest spraying, telephones. So the community center budget for anything else is minuscule, tiny. One of the things that I did ask for that was cut was for programming funds, the $400 that we talked about. I did go in front of the selectmen and the finance committee and pled my case. I don't know where it stands, they're still hearing people, so, but I think it was important that they had the information, that we explained what we do. I did read off the list of programs that we did, explained how we rely so heavily on the community, and that we have zero budgeted dollars to do programs, when it should be a big part of what we do, so. But I know you had asked for a line item budget, so you can see we give it pretty much right down to what we're spending for grease traps and inspections.
Very nice,
and
very nicely done.
so, yep, there's no mystery in there,
No,
there's nothing.
good job, Carol.
No, my pleasure. And then I just added a project request list. So you'll see some of this is for like years out, but I never think it hurts to start talking about what we're gonna need. And then I'm always a big graph kind of girl, I know. Some people are more narratives. I like a graph, so I do pie charts. It's the same information, just how you like it. I think it's, when you look at it and you see that 75% chunk and then the extra, you know.
That is crazy.
Carolyn, can you go back to requesting staff, change of hours? Page.
Page you were on,
I read it earlier. You were increasing the hours. That was nice. So I think that, we are not open on Sundays, so this would be in the future. Currently, we're not open on Sundays, and it's not in this. This was pre-COVID.
Yep.
And so you'll see now that we have changed during COVID what we were, and now we're back, except we don't have Sundays. Our hours of operation are Monday from 6 in the morning till 6 at night. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're open from 6 in the morning till 9 at night, and Saturdays 8 to 4. So we're still missing our Sundays, but staffing,
Are you looking to add some additional staffing, or is
not
this
right this moment.
just increasing what you have right now, or dealing with what you have?
We're dealing with what we
Okay.
have right now,
Thank
so
you.
that's where we are.
Okay,
So we just have, the only thing we don't have is the Sundays, and we will get back to that. We're just being mindful of how we do it. We know so many requests came in, and it impacts the recreation budget, it impacts, so that's where we are.
yeah, good, thank you.
Of course. So I just wanted to give you that. Feel free to look through. If you have any specific questions, just reach out, something I can clarify.
Question on the brochures, Carolyn.
The brochure, sure.
I see we have a $2,000 cost for printing and folding. Who does that?
It was the same person who used to do the COA newsletter, who has since passed away, so I'm searching for someone. We have a much smaller budget. We're doing a lot of in-house. I'm working with anyone I can.
Do you need a printer? You need a company to do this, or?
Yes, but we have a very small
Yeah,
budget for
let
it.
me share with you that we have contracted the league, the softball league. We contracted with the printing company up on 28 next to Domino's Pizza. There's a Merlin's, thank you. And we have an annual contract with them, and they give us a very good discount.
Thank you. I will check that out. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
they do all our printing, everything, okay? And they've been very good with us.
Terrific, I appreciate it.
And if you have an ID number, they'll
Yep.
they'll reduce all the taxes and so on, so,
Terrific.
yeah.
I'll reach
Merlin's,
out.
thank you, it's Merlin's. Yeah, I went up
They're nice
and
people.
I went up
I
a
have
couple
not
of
worked with
last year, and we worked out a deal where we would give them all our business, and they agreed to reduce the cost of whatever. So you might want to tell, I think his name is Bill.
Terrific.
Bill and his wife, okay, the two of them are up there. You might mention the Cape Cod Senior Softball.
Oh, I'll
League.
mention it.
Yeah, and see if you can get something, and if I can help you in any way, let me know. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah, it's mostly for our booklets that we do, those brochures. We do a lot of the flyers and things in-house. And we don't do the quantity of newsletter anywhere near it. So we just print the few hundred newsletters that we do here, so.
The Council on Aging, of course, has a huge
Huge, yes.
list.
And they do a mailing, and yeah, we
Right.
do ours all through.
We're not doing a
email.
mailing, is that what I understand?
I do not mail,
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of this until very recently, and a lot of people have no idea
Yeah,
that it's around.
it's a great idea.
Can I see one of those?
It really was.
See, you weren't aware either, right?
No.
And he was featured in it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I wondered how we could, if we want to get that out, how can we get it out more widely than it is now?
So one of the things that we just did is we are in the newspaper monthly with our calendar. So we just added, would you like to get our newsletter right to that, so that'll go out in the Chronicle.
Right.
Yeah, I brought it, and will bring it with me to the meetings that we're doing, and asked if clubs and organizations would like to sign up for it. So, I'll reach out as we can. We send,
Do we have a supply of these?
yes, they're right at the front counter when you walk in.
Okay, because again, I would like to do it through the volleyball group and the pickleball group. There's a
Sure.
lot of folks there, again, who have no idea that we have this thing. And if I take a whole bunch there,
Sure. I'd be happy
urge
give
people
you
to
some.
sign up, what do they, just call in to sign
They
up?
can call in or email us. It's right, it's
Okay.
actually in the newsletter, it tells you exactly
Oh,
how to
is
do
it?
it too.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah, you can always call too.
I'm just wondering, I know, cause cost is so expensive. You know how the seniors have that elder services grants and things? Is there any such thing as a community center service grant? I mean, I
have
have no
not
clue with the
found
state,
one.
I'm just wondering if they even had it available.
I haven't found one, but I am looking to see what we can do. one of the things that you can do is partner with an organization that does advertisement,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, I know.
you don't get to pick what advertisement
Yeah,
goes
I know,
in, so
yeah,
it's a slippery slope.
It's- yeah.
We definitely wanna get more people, I mean, to me, the newsletter is exactly how the COA newsletter started.
Right,
It started small, it's grown, it is a phenomenal piece of information, the Council on Aging
Right.
one, phenomenal, she
Mm.
does an amazing job. You know, we're getting there, we grow, we have, after our meeting,
yeah,
we talked with the 8th grade advisor.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a project with them, so you'll see that in next month's
That's great.
newsletter, and we're gonna highlight an 8th grade student
nice,
for the next
yeah, That's
few
great.
things. So we wanted to get students involved and the school brought back in, so.
Is there any chance we could partner with the Council on Aging and send them out simultaneously? Although you probably don't want a list that long, right?
I'm happy to check with
don't know.
the director and see what they're doing, and I don't wanna take away anything, hers is so good.
yeah.
I feel like it's where we start and where you wanna end is, so we're
right.
getting there, slow and steady.
I'm just wondering, cause we're always hitting them anyway, like Cape Cod 5, I'm just wondering, cause I don't know, how much would you think per year we would spend on these booklets? Roughly,
Well,
a few thousand?
well, I think it depends on what you wanna do, that's why we're emailing us, because I know
Yeah,
the
the cost.
postage is really,
Awful, I know.
and the more, I think that the Council on Aging is somewhere around 18 pages.
And the
Um,
cost has gone up for
And
them
the
too.
cost, yes,
Yeah.
And that was a problem.
yeah,
Yeah, it's 15, 16 pages.
16,
Yeah.
yeah. And they're full pages, I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
They're also not color and,
Yeah, right.
No, yours are beautiful.
you know,
Right,
start
color.
adding color and.
The
Yeah.
color, the multicolor
There
is
goes the price.
Right.
We're
jacks up
just
the
trying to
price.
figure out who we could.
but I'd
Oh,
just like
I-
to see it more widespread than it is, and
Yeah.
because
I agree with you,
yeah.
absolutely, and I think, you know, you guys give me an idea, I'm happy to run with it, I'll contact Cape Cod 5. and-
Years ago, we, the league again, we used to use Cape Tech, the graphic design program up at Cape Tech, and they would do it all voluntarily.
COA did that as well, years ago.
Yeah, and the only thing we paid for was the materials, we didn't pay for labor. They used to do a lot of stuff for us. You might wanna check up there and see if they're still willing to do some stuff. They still have a graphic design
They do.
program, I
It's-
suspect.
It is, it's
Okay.
excellent, but the turnover time is the issue.
Yeah,
That's what.
Oh,
yes, exactly. I mean, if you tell them you want it on a certain date, they can't guarantee that date, okay, because you're dealing with kids, you know? And, you know, but it might be an option for you, but if you're giving your materials way ahead of time to give them a good lead time, maybe they can get the work done for you, but they did business cards and they did everything for us, a lot of stuff.
It's a little harder with the newsletter, cause it's so time sensitive,
Yeah.
and we don't have the information.
Yeah.
Right.
So this one's a little bit harder to do.
It's
Yeah.
coordinating the whole thing with them if
Exactly,
they do it, it's
yeah.
tough.
And again, Emily's been through this recently, I know, and you're
So
probably.
I will reach
you're
out
probably,
for
yeah.
sure.
She's
Yeah.
struggling with that too.
Finding
Another
an-
one that's come in, you know how we always had the road race in the summer? And Howard Support, and a certain percentage of the money used to come back to the rec, and I don't think it does anymore. I don't know where the money goes when they fundraise now. But I'm just wondering, would the, cause I think the Chamber of Commerce was benefiting from it, recently. So I'm just wondering with those road races that we do in the summer.
Right,
Maybe that might be something the Chamber of Commerce might consider saying, you know what, we'll help pay for your newsletter or something. Cause where else is the money going? I have no clue.
Hmm.
I will follow up with Emily and Cindy, so.
Yeah, I'm just saying, cause they
Yeah.
used to give a few thousand
You're
back
right.
to the Park and Rec,
right.
and that disappeared.
It just made me think, I will reach out to the library too and see if we can put some over there. They have a good amount of people that come in, so that might help too, so.
And possibly the Harwich Port Golf Course or Cranberry Valley. I know they have, on a table over there, they have brochures and so on that are available. Things gotta be,
I used to do a monthly newsletter for the league, but I used to have to hand them out. I'll bundle them up into 15 per team, times 20 teams, and run down and pass them out to the managers who would then pass them out. But I think that, you know, they would be interested in hearing and knowing about what's going on here at the center. So, you know, we have a meeting on April 7th, the league does.
Okay.
You might want to walk in and I'll introduce you, and maybe you can tell them about some of the stuff that's going on here, okay?
I love to crash a good meeting, I'll be there.
Okay, I'll remind you.
Well, but I think getting the email list is equally as important to get the, let me just say, the younger crowd who is used to reading everything digitally.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they wouldn't know what a pamphlet is.
That's true.
It's
That's
like
true.
paper, you killed a tree?
Well,
Yeah.
Cape Cod Times, you see what the Cape Cod Times is doing, you
Oh,
know?
it's gone downhill, it's
Well,
terrible.
it's awful.
It's awful.
Now, we signed up for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because of the early part of the week, you know, there's really nothing but ads in there. Now they cut back, and they're not doing anything on a Saturday, they're not delivering on a Saturday.
Uh-huh.
So you're paying for a Friday and a Sunday, because they're suggesting you look at the web, and you get your news from that site, you know, rather than
Wow.
send the paper out on a
Yeah.
Saturday.
And they didn't reduce the
No.
The fee-
subscription
It
cost.
went
No.
up, it went
Yeah.
up.
Right,
Right.
and that, well,
That's annoying.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only problem with the paper. It's the cost.
Okay, now we're
Okay.
done.
Sorry, we're always giving you.
Now
work
that
to
we've
do.
No, that's excellent.
jumped off the tangent and tangent off the tangent, we'll move on to new business with the 5-year plan.
Yes, so we had talked about this before. I found some older versions of when we had the basement renovation idea, and that was, put into a 5-year plan that never came to fruition, because we didn't build out the basement. So I've been putting together some information that I will bring to you, a survey that I'd like to put out. Certainly working with the COA and the recreation director, the building needs to have all of the stakeholders involved. So I'm putting together some information, I just didn't want you to think I forgot about it, I didn't bring my notebook, but I think I'm on page 20 right now of my memo to you, so, yeah, it's certainly time, we'll put that out there. I will give you the draft form, I will give it to both COA and recreation, and see what they would like to add, subtract, so we will get that to you.
Okay.
Okay. The director's update. It's all you.
I'm sorry.
It's
So we have
okay.
after prom scheduled for April 14th, which I'm sure all of you know is one of those great events that we do where they come in, they stay overnight, they go to the prom, parents have come in and decorated the prom committee, and then they stay here all night, so they are safe, they have programs for them, it's a great time. So that is on April 14th. We put out our DIY egg flyer, I gave you all one. We have people already calling to sign up, and we put together the kits for them, so there'll be eggs in there, surprises, can't say it all, kids might be watching. So, and then there's a actual scheduled pickup time, we have put out in our newsletter to see if people wanted to volunteer to help us during the
Delivery.
people picking up, or to come help stuff bags. We're trying to get more volunteers to help us with those kind of projects, because I think the more people involved, the more invested they are in the building, so.
Is it like Halloween?
It's similar, only they don't all come at once, they've set up times to come,
Okay.
so it could be, April 11th between 9 and 11, and you might have 40 people coming then. And then April 11th at 2:30, there could be 15 people coming, so. But we have a list of that. In the past, we've had so many people picking up their DIY egg kits, so it turned into something fun out of COVID, we'll take it.
Could be the last year for it.
The DIY ones?
Yeah.
We can always hope. We have, if you walked in, you walked by our jelly bean guessing contest, and I said see attached flyer, and I forgot to attach it, but it says guess the jelly beans, so. We have coloring pages, we always we have coloring contests for kids, so we have pick up your coloring, we display them, and spoiler alert, pretty much everyone gets an award. I'm not sure who asked, but currently we have about 100, just under 100, And I know that we just added several, so I'm gonna say we're at 100 now, people that signed up for our newsletter, and we also print at least 100 each month, and we get rid of those, so we're somewhere around, again, we just started it, around 200 people, so it is our idea that we will be, this time next year, saying we're in the 1,000 people, so. That's my,
Okay. So, moving over to other.
so the other is the listening session, we did our first one last night.
Okay.
There were approximately 10 people there, about 6 from the same organization. They had, great things to say about the building and constructive things to say. Again, this is the easiest meeting to run because I literally say, what would you like to say? And then allow them to speak. Some were concerned with the financial part of renting the building in that we've just come off of COVID and they haven't had an opportunity to really build back their funds because they haven't been able to be doing fundraising, so they felt that it might not be the best time to increase the fees. Others felt like, depends on what those fees are. If it's a nominal, we need to go up $25, that's not going to impact. If you're gonna double the fees, that makes a big difference. I did express to them that we had no preset agenda, that we were truly listening and hearing feedback. I didn't hear as much about the number of uses, but I have had people contact me about that. Some think it's far, far too many and it doesn't make sense, and others think it's just right.
What do you mean by that?
So
The
you
uses.
pay a yearly fee and you can have up to 104 uses.
104?
Yes, which would be
Just
2
twice a
times
week.
a week.
2 a week.
And how many hours for,
So there's never been an hour limit set on that.
right,
So those are some of the things that I think we need to look at is, we have some groups who come in just once a month, but they come in for several hours at a time. And then we have other groups who are here once a week, but they're here for 1 hour. So does it,
do we have anybody that goes over the 52? Even 52, not 104?
oh, yes,
We have people that meet twice a week?
we do.
Okay.
Yes, and if they go over, they do have to pay additional fees, unless it's like one time over, we're not charging for one time. But if they consistently, so say there's a group that meets 3 times a week, they're clearly gonna go over by several,
Right.
so they would need to pay an additional fee for that.
Okay.
When you say additional fee, is there a structure for that? Is there,
Usually I come before you and make a recommendation, what I usually do is take the 165 and divide it in half. And say should be the additional fee, if it's a regular activity room. That's what we have done in the past, I looked prior to coming here, and the board has voted whether yes or no.
do you waive fees, for any organization you have a waive?
I have no authority to waive anyone's fees. It can come before this board or the selectmen to waive fees, but
No, I'm saying
this
if somebody
person-
puts in a request to use a facility, you bring it before the board,
Yes.
and they would decide whether or not that's a justifiable reason to waive a fee.
correct.
You-
The only people who don't pay fees in this building is if they're a town organization. Meaning
Should start
the
charging.
selectmen,
Yeah.
the town band, anyone who has, or council on aging program, a youth and rec program, they're not paying. An outside group, even if they're a nonprofit, they are paying.
Right.
So that's how the fee structure was set up all those years ago, 22.
How many different organizations use, do you have a general idea how
I
many?
do. Before COVID, it was 178. Right now, we're around 80 that are using it.
178 different separate organizations? Holy
Correct.
smokes.
And that can be a one-time use,
Yeah.
or it can be a every week use.
Yeah.
We didn't break those down, but it was up to
A busy place.
178. Sometimes
Good.
people come back, sometimes they don't, sometimes, I think that number is a little misleading, and I don't mean it to be, but let's take a group like the Harwich Newcomers. The Harwich Newcomers has several groups under it. Well, we're counting all of those groups. So the newcomers, because they're coming at different times, getting different services, the newcomers has a cornhole. So the newcomers is doing a meeting, cornhole can be doing a meeting, there can be a book club for that, but those are all counted as separate, so.
Is the gym, the various activities in the gym counted separately?
Yes, I don't count any of the youth and recreation
Okay.
or council on aging programs.
Mm.
We're
Now,
not
who,
counting those.
the gym use, whose jurisdiction is that? Is that rec or are you?
It's both
For
of
example, the
us.
volleyball group.
That's what I'm thinking about, volleyball,
Yeah,
pickleball.
pickleball, when they use the gym.
Open gym.
Who is that, who
Both
runs
of
it?
us, Eric and I,
Yeah.
both together. The rec
But
and-
there is a fee to use that facility, correct?
Yes,
Where does that fee, who monitors that fee? You guys or the?
I do.
Okay. So
I
the
do.
payments from the pickleball or the volleyball guys?
I don't have pickleball.
We don't
in
have
this
pickleball
building.
now, we
yeah.
used to,
But
but
the volleyball program,
we pay.
Comes
you
into
pay,
me.
it doesn't
it
go to
goes-
rec, it doesn't go to rec.
It does not. It
Okay.
gets turned over to the town.
Okay.
They're only paying for the room use,
Right.
and that money gets turned over to the, general fund.
So rec has nothing to do with the programs, you schedule the rec, those programs like volleyball and what's the other, there's some other programs.
Well, there's tennis, I don't know
Yeah,
if they're still
tennis
playing
or whatever.
tennis here.
So that's a recreation program,
Okay,
tennis. So if it's the first priority goes to recreation, so
senior basketball.
they will take a look at their calendar and say, we need this, and this. And then volleyball will come in and say, Carolyn would like to play volleyball. And I'd say, okay. I will walk down to the rec and say, I need to fit volleyball in. Does this work for you? Can we make, so it's a combined
Right.
effort. So that's how we're doing
I'm just
it.
wondering where the funding is going, when they collect the money from these folks that play basketball, for example.
So that's a rec program.
So
I
that money
don't
goes
know.
into the rec
Yes.
budget. And it's into his-
Truthfully, the only programs that I have in there is the volleyball.
Okay.
We're a
Volleyball.
select group.
You
are,
were
you're
select.
special, Ralph.
You're a special group.
Yeah, Ralphie.
The Council on Aging uses it for like senior fit,
Right,
but that's not our program, that's a Council on Aging program.
and
So
there's
the-
open gym as well, how does that work?
That's through the recreation.
Okay.
Anytime there's space and coverage, they are
Right.
having open slots.
Volleyball. We knew we were select, but
You are, you're the only one I latched onto and said, no, we have to have it.
So was there anything else from the listening session that,
What was the general sense, if you look at it as a general consensus, what would you say it was?
So I think that depending on which group you were coming from, I will say that everyone was happy to have a community center. There wasn't anyone who said we shouldn't be doing this, why are we doing this? Which, we've come a long way, when we first opened, there was still people saying that. So I think that's important. We had a group who have 0 to 6-year-olds who didn't want to get lost in the mix. They haven't been able to be back in the building because of their own protocol, not us. We've invited them,
Sure.
their own protocol. So that was a little, somebody thought we weren't letting them in. So I've said numerous times, no, we're ready, willing, and able. They don't want to get lost in the mix. They would love a standalone room for themselves to have 20 all the time. But I think a lot of groups would like that, like this is our room.
yeah, no.
And that's not the
Can't work,
concept
yeah.
of the community center. What we did, or what I did try and convey is that we're gonna set it up so it is your room, well, it's your room. Like, the center room here in the middle of the building used to be set up with kids' toys and things.
Sure.
So that's not saying that when they're coming, we're not gonna pull every bit of those toys back out and then put them away. But for the other 4 days, it serves as an actual activity room and is well utilized. So we need to be more creative about how we're storing things, where we're storing things, setting things up, breaking things down for people, so that they do feel like it's their room when they're there. And
Is
that's
it that groups are looking for storage space?
I think that a lot of groups are still looking for storage
You know.
space.
I think that's we've had that before,
Sure, I think everyone would like it. It's,
you know, because that's why they want it to be their room. They want to, you know, put their stuff in the closet so that when they, you know, they don't have to bring it in each time.
so,
So the second session is today?
right after, yes.
Have you made any, you know, in your own time, have you made any comparisons between what we pay, you know, what they pay for fees here versus some of the other community centers around?
I have been
You
looking at
have,
it,
yeah.
yes.
And where do we stand, where are we in terms of the range, if you will?
It's hard to compare, quite honestly, because what we do is different. Not a lot of people get rooms set up and breakdowns done for them. Their group has to do it. I think we're trending low. I don't think that we're anywhere near the high end of renting space. So I would say middle to low, and I think that we get more services here. But I could be biased, so I'm trying hard to look at it with just factual information.
Now, when you rent, can you rent for one day or for one event, or do you have to
Absolutely.
pay for the whole year?
No, we have
Okay.
single rents,
You have single
$40,
rents,
a one-time use.
one time.
If
Now,
you're,
how does that $40 compare with some of the other,
that's a little bit higher
Higher?
for one-time use.
but the long-term,
That's way lower.
we are way low.
It's $165 for a year use.
Right, and you can have as many as,
Up to 104.
yeah, that's not bad, that's pretty reasonable.
Right.
If you
I
really
think we have to
divide,
start
if you really
going-
divide,
figuring out
Sure.
the hours
Yeah.
between all of the,
Right.
just to make it fair.
And those are the things I think when we finish the listening session, I'll put together some notes for you, and try and compare what people said with what I know in the industry, is happening. But I do take into consideration what people said. They have not been able to fundraise because of COVID for a few years, so their coffers are very far down. And the thing that they continued to express, which is important, is that those groups continued to give during that time when they couldn't be fundraising. Whether it was scholarships to young adults or quilts for people who are sick and in need. So they kept giving, so their supplies are down and they couldn't fundraise. And so, you know, I think that those are important factors too. Part of being the community center is that it's not just about the bottom line. I think that
Yeah.
we all sitting around this table agree, and the people that utilize the building, one of the things that we do is provide a service for
The
the
community.
entire community, so.
We should err on the side of generosity.
I agree,
Yeah.
and taking things into consideration, like maybe we say, this isn't the year to raise.
Right.
But in next year, we might have to raise it, pick a number, cause I don't have one.
Right.
But that gives people a chance for a whole year to determine
What they wanna do.
what they wanna do, and we can do still more things, like our yard sale, and get clubs and organizations
Sure.
involved in that, so they can raise the money.
Right.
It's very successful for some of our clubs to do that, they raise
Yeah.
well more.
They've always
Well-
raised more than their
Than their
fees.
The thing is,
fees.
when you raise your fees, okay, it would be, the word I'm looking for, it would be nice, if you will, if the Board of Selectmen would take that into consideration when you put your budget together. You know, raising the fees gotta mean, there's gotta be some kind of consideration to raising your budget proportionately, okay? It's not a matter of just raising your fees and putting it into the general fund. If you can raise your fees to enhance some of the programs that you want to add or increase or do something with, okay, add new programs or whatever, you know, there's gotta be some kind of give and take on that. You know, raising fees for the sake of raising fees doesn't make any sense.
I agree, I definitely think
You know,
that,
you're looking for the new programs, for example, $4,000. Well, you raise your fees, well, you go to the finance committee and say, well, if we raise our fees X number of dollars, can we have a portion of that so that we can do the programs that you wanna do?
sure,
It's a negotiating back and forth that that might be worthwhile thinking about.
I just wanna add one thing to that. My question about that, I mean, I understand
Yeah.
that exactly, but aren't the first thing they're gonna say is, here's your 75%? Here's your 75% budget, which is electric and
Yeah.
the other thing,
Gas,
gas and electric?
yeah,
But you-
water.
Yeah, particularly
I-
where you don't
I-
have a revolving account, right? You
I
really,
Just
just have
for the
one
weight
for the
room.
weight room,
yeah, but it's just for one program,
correct.
correct? I'm just trying to see if we can find more money for you to have to be able to develop and enhance your side of the equation, okay? In terms of programs, and supporting the programs that you currently have, and adding new programs. I don't know. if
And we're
they-
gonna need a table for ourselves at the yard sale.
Yeah.
You
I don't
know,
know.
It's not a bad idea,
Hey,
actually.
there you go, the printing budget for our
It's
newsletter.
not a bad idea, we
You
can
know?
take in donations, I'm willing to do anything,
Are,
so.
I guess the question would that be is, are we allowed to do it? Is the facility committee or what, you know what I'm saying? Are we allowed to raise money for the printing of our
I don't
newsletter?
wanna answer that, cause I don't know the answer, I would think it would be yes, but I'll be happy to look into it.
I don't know,
Just
I
what
would
the
think it
legal
would be
issue
like
is.
anyone else, if you raise the
well,
money,
it's more like as
you give
opposed to
as
it
a
going
gift.
into the general fund
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff like
Right.
that, because it's,
I think Larry Ballantyne answered that question once with the Council on Aging, but I've forgotten what he
Yeah.
responded back.
sorry, that was just
Yeah.
straight off
We
top of
could
my
just make a
head.
contribution each.
There's that too.
Yeah,
Carolyn, we have nothing to do with the cultural center fees now, do we?
Correct,
Okay.
So that's been completely separated from every part of the budget?
correct,
Electric, everything?
Hmm.
Okay.
correct,
And none of our staff or anything?
correct.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty then.
Well, you can't do, part of your agenda is at 11, you will be doing your listening tour, so you can't.
Oh, that's
adjourn or
right, you can't
anything.
adjourn the meeting, so.
What else?
It's the,
I just had a question. Do you need any supplies for your, egg hunt? I mean, cause another organization could donate if you need anything.
So that's an excellent question. One of the things that we are looking to do, I look at what other clubs and other community centers and people do. And one of the things they do in our neighboring town, they give each child one chocolate bunny. So I was looking right now at buying bulk bunnies to see if we could include that in the bag. So that's where I am right now. We have the eggs, we have
Okay.
a gift for each one, but
Okay.
we don't have that
Chocolate
one
bunnies?
component, yes,
Okay.
like,
Do you have a rough idea of how much you might wanna be looking at?
I think that at the very least, it could be, the dollar ones that they do at the dollar store, like, and we give out about 300 to 350 bags,
Okay.
so,
I don't know what they'll,
right.
I'll bring before the ladies and see what they'll say.
And, yeah, I'm happy to do hit up some other people like we usually do too, so, but any little bit helps, that's what we do.
Based on your experiences, okay, where does the Harwich Community Center fit in terms of activity vis-a-vis some of the neighboring towns? Are we one of the most active community centers, or are there other community centers as active or less active, or in terms of programs and, activities that go on here, the usage and so on?
Sure, so,
Just as a,
it's an
Open
interesting
discussion.
question, because if I look at us as a whole, which I define the community center as a whole,
Yeah.
when you put into perspective all of the council on aging programs and the youth and rec programs,
right,
what we do, our weight room, we are doing phenomenal. Individually, do I think that the community center could do more programming? Sure, I just don't have the money for it right now, which is one of the things that I asked for.
raise the fees and get your money.
No, no, we wanna be, so those kind of things. I think that it's interesting that places contact us to ask about our model, how we're doing things. I know I reported back that I was on a call with Orleans. They're looking at doing a community center similar to what we do, similar but different. Everyone has a little twist. When Chatham was building theirs, they contacted us. So I think that people do look to this model and see, and I'm not saying that it's perfect by any stretch, but I think the base that we have really is working. I think that the multi-generational component to this building is so important. It really is. And we are, one of the groups that was last night was talking about the 0 to 6. We can't wait for them to come back on so many levels. One, the energy is different. Two, the interaction with the seniors. There's so many different things that happen. So, the after-school program, somebody mentioned yesterday, they don't see a lot of kids in the building. And I said, oh, well, when are you here? And she said, at noontime. And I said, well, a lot of the kids are in school, so if you come later in the day, and I thought, maybe I'm not publicizing enough of what's happening later in the day. Let's do better at that. But those are things that we can work with. I wanted to hear that she didn't see kids in the building. Let's do more of the photos so that they see what happens on a Saturday. Let's get the word out there and publicize ourselves better. So I think that we are doing well, but I believe I can always do better.
Has there ever been a Friends of the Council on Aging proposed? There's a group, the Friends of the Council on Aging. Has there ever been one for the community center?
There was.
Yeah.
And,
Were they
There's
disbanded?
Friends of the Youth and Rec Commission and.
Were they fundraising?
They
No,
were.
not anymore.
And are they no longer in existence?
They are
And,
not.
there
There was
me
a
and
lot of,
Jane and-
a lot of people passed away on it, and several moved on there, so there was not.
Okay. Because the COA Friends contribute periodically to
Yes.
things we need.
Right.
They're kind of our backup, if you will, and they're great. I just wondered if the community center had anything comparable.
Well, they had Friends of Harwich Youth, which, Lee Culver was in charge
Okay,
of.
yeah.
And he was kind enough, in his later years, to kind of cover us that started the Harwich Children's Fund. So we kind of took over that, but the deal we made with Lee was that we would try to always support the recreation. So every year we send scholarship money over to the recreation department to cover
Okay.
the cost of kids doing little things. And I'm always asking Eric, is there something that they need? And,
Yeah.
so we try to help out when we can. But again, fundraising, we'd like to,
Who's we?
the Howard Children's Fund,
Okay.
yeah, so.
And
it's-
I will say the Children Fund always helps on our programs, whether it's buying costumes
Mm.
or coming to volunteer or checking what we need, but they've been great partners for the community center itself
Right.
too.
Angela, what is the makeup of the Howard Children's Fund?
Well, I got it off the ground because when, nicely, when we were with Harwich, I always did fundraising to help the needy kids, but when we
Right.
merged with Chatham,
Right.
there was a big discrepancy.
Right.
So, I wanted to be sure that all the children in Monomoy were able to get assistance. The kids that needed help, clothing, whatever they needed.
Now, you have a committee?
We have, I recruited retired teachers, basically.
Cool.
Although there's a few that are still working, and because they knew the kids, they knew the families, they
Right.
knew so that's how it got started. We're hoping to keep it expanding, and we're always trying to fundraise. Carolyn's been very good to us about space and everything else when we can get in. But like I said, Lee was wonderful about taking me under his wing, and we were able to, get it off the ground, so, but we'd love to be able to do more for the recreation.
So you folks just go out and do your own personal fundraising to
Yeah.
build up your own budget?
Yeah.
And then parcel that money out to where
Right.
the needs are?
To the various, yeah.
Okay.
Our biggest expenses have come for the kids during the school year.
You're right.
We go through thousands of dollars trying to help the kids.
Are the local businesses helping you with that venture?
We write for a lot of grants, so we've been very fortunate getting a
Grants.
number of grants
Cool.
that helped us to cover a lot of these costs. And then we also try to do fundraising, but that's why I approached you a couple of years ago before COVID hit, to see if we could do Circus Smirkus, because we were so excited and we're hoping, we can't do it this year because they're on hold, you know, COVID still maybe next year, and that would be a big fundraiser if we could actually pull it off.
Yeah.
Then you can give more to the Park and Rec.
Right. Interesting.
Well, what,
Learn something new.
I was gonna say, Carolyn, when you're talking to other towns about building a new one, tell them to price out their basement and build their pool.
I
And
do.
don't take it back. Say, no, it's all or nothing.
One of the things that I do think of is, what if we did have a place that we had storage that we could rent to clubs and organizations inside the building? You know, that is a request that we get a lot of, so I try and be creative, not in the basement, I don't like people up and down on the elevators but what if there was a space that we could utilize? So that's in the back of my mind always, that, you know, if your group wanted to have a cabinet that we charged $50 a year for, and is it gonna solve the budget problems? No, but is it gonna be affordable and helpful and all the things that we should be? Sure.
You
And
got
if
some
we
extra room in your office?
You've all seen my office, we have passports going, and we have,
I withdraw my question.
if I could, I would give it up, but.
I know.
Is there
um,
such space around here for that, you know? You
No.
have-
I have some creative ideas. I always have creative ideas, that's all I'll say.
Carolyn, what's the story, again, since I'm new on this, what is the latest or the recent or the past about the pool downstairs? Where are we as a community about a pool? Is that a dead issue right now?
I don't think it's ever dead. I think that people talk about it a lot, but they also take the temperature of the town, and right now, asking for a pool would not be.
What kind of money, what kind of money is this whole program, you know, what are you talking about in terms of dollars?
If I had to guess right now, I'd say 8 million. That would be my guess, because you have to do you have to finish the area, the basement, you have to put in the pool. Construction is
Pool's not cheap.
so expensive, right. So that would be just a rough
Wow.
guess for you, but I'm sure it's around, if not higher.
Yeah.
Wow.
Liability.
Yeah.
The staffing,
And the
Staffing.
staffing, qualified,
gotta have
your Red Cross
qualified,
trainers,
you
yeah.
know,
And the temperature controls for a
yeah,
pool area.
cleaning of it,
completely-
maintenance and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Chemicals,
it's a
so yeah.
function.
It's a
It's
lot.
a
There's
very
a lot of
different-
money.
And I honestly, I do have a recreation degree, as does Eric. I know neither one of us is in that area. It's a specialized area,
Mm-hmm.
and I, for one, would never recommend anyone running a pool who's not qualified.
Right, no,
It's
yes.
just,
Right.
Liability.
exactly. And you know,
Well, there was a rumor around years ago, not too long ago, that the Marcelins property up there, that the YMCA was thinking about
Yeah.
taking over. Did I hear correctly?
Yeah, that was one thought, people were talking about it, I don't know
Really?
where it went,
That the
but.
Y was going to take over the area and build a pool and a facility?
I know that the Y has certainly, they came to a Board of Selectmen meeting, and they talked about areas that they were looking at, and that they would like to be in this area of the Cape. I can't say for sure, but I believe that I heard at one point,
Yeah.
they may have talked to Brewster about, going someplace there, and I don't know that they're still looking at that same site, I really don't, but, we can certainly.
So I heard something correctly then,
Yeah,
there is
there
something
was a
going
buzz
on
in
out
They
there.
did
Yeah.
come and have a conversation
Oh,
with our
really?
selectmen at one
Interesting.
point, just about what they were thinking, where they were.
Yeah.
What,
11:00.
so the meeting is still in session,
Yes,
but we'll be changing location,
okay.
and we'll be adjourning from that location. That's what you were gonna say, right?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. She took the words right out of my mouth.
And I, for one, am going to ask to be excused, since I have another commitment
Yes, you do, a very special commitment that we know of.
in the gym.
So we are right across the hall at the multipurpose room, and
Okay, so
I will
we're
take
swapping
notes.
locations.
Right,
Ralph, did you get my email that I had sent you?
Sometime back.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
I think Carrie has it set up